This is a Flying Cow production.
Well, hello and welcome back to the Great Film Challenge. I, of course, am your host, Clay Johnson, the Flying Cow himself, and here with me again is my nephew, Aaron. Aaron, how we doing today, buddy?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. And this is not a typical episode. Number one, we're coming to you on a different day than we normally do. We normally release every Saturday, and I think this one is coming out on a Thursday. I'd have to check my calendar, which I don't have in here to be 100% sure. But it is a different day because we have decided to do something a little bit different. As we have mentioned before, while we enjoy this project and we like a lot of the movies on here, there's definitely some that are missing.
Yes.
Definitely some holes, some things that really should be being represented that really just aren't. Once again, the fact that Billy Wilder is not on this list is just wrong. We'll get to that at some point. But when I looked at the calendar and realized that, Juneteenth was rolling around, I was like, okay, well, we should do something for that.
Yeah.
And Juneteenth, for anybody that's not familiar, is basically the celebration of the end of slavery in our country. And I looked at our list, and to be honest, our list for Black film representation is, there's one other film on here that we could have done, but honestly, I kind of wanted to save that one because it's one that I haven't seen. And this is a film that I feel like should be on the list. I think it's a film that has been ignored too frequently. It did get a little attention on the AFI 100, though it's pretty low on the list, unfortunately. But this is just a film that I, really think needs to be talked about a lot more. And so we are talking today about Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing. This film came out in 1989, and it was written, directed, and produced by Spike Lee. And let's see, it stars, among many, many others, Spike Lee himself, Danny Aiello, Ozzie Davis, Ruby Dee, Richard Edson, Giancarlo Esposito, Bill Nunn, John Turturro, Samuel L. Jackson, Rosie Perez, just to name a few. It is also apparently the feature film debut of Martin Lawrence. And this is... It's such, to me, an important film. I saw this film when I was going through the AFI 100 because I really wanted to just watch all of the films on that list. And I had heard about it from other critics talking about it and just kind of how important it was. And I really was attracted by this film when I saw it. It's a very powerful film. For me. Now, Aaron, I have been talking a lot, so it's time for you to talk a little bit. Obviously, you'd never seen this film.
No, I'd only seen the Love and Hate clip, and that was it.
Sure, which honestly is one of my favorite bits.
Yeah.
In this film, honestly, I feel like that should be like a meme You said you where did you find it?
YouTube.
Oh, on YouTube.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I get a lot of stuff from YouTube.
Okay, well there you go. Yeah. So outside of that, did you have any idea like what this film was, what it was about,
No.
anything?
Nothing.
No. Just, the name of it and then me telling you just a little bit about
Yeah.
kind of what it was about. So for anybody that is not familiar, the film Do the Right Thing is basically it's about racial tension.
Yeah.
It is set in the community of Bed-Stuy in New York. It is a hot day, and this is one of those films where the temperature is very important
Yes.
because it is not only hot temperature-wise, but it is hot,
Yeah.
like just
It-
sizzling tensions.
everything
And
is-
you feel like it's been that way for a
Yeah.
while, but when things stay that way for a while, that there's every chance that simmer could come to a boil
Yeah.
at some point. And it's very much an ensemble piece. We're kind of seeing, a flavor of the neighborhood. We're getting bits and pieces and scenes
Yes.
from various people throughout the neighborhood, but we are definitely following Spike Lee's character Mookie as he kind of goes back and forth, trying to juggle his work and his personal life and, all of those things and stuff like that. So, but like I said, you're getting a flavor for this community, but you're also seeing that things are starting to come to a head.
Mm-hmm.
And it does in very interesting ways. But before we get into that, Aaron, I want to just ask you,
Yeah.
what did you think of this film?
I think it was amazing. I agree. It should be on the list. I
Yeah.
don't know if there's anything I would replace it with yet, but
Sure.
I really enjoyed it. I liked seeing every aspect of it.
Right.
Are we gonna wait to go more into detail?
No. If you want to jump in, you feel free. I've been talking enough. If there's something you want to bring up, go for it.
I liked how even from the perspective of some of the others,
Mm-hmm.
like the Italians,
Mm-hmm.
the like Sal's family,
Sure.
you could tell, even though they did have some slight advantages, it still sucked for them. But also, him and Vito was the older one, right?
Yeah, Vino.
Vino.
Yeah.
Him and Vino sort of.
Or
brought
no,
that-
sorry. I think it's Pino actually.
I thought Pino-
Let me double check here. Yes, Pino and
Okay.
Vito. Pino and Vito.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pino is the one played by John Turturro,
Yeah.
the older brother.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I
Yeah.
recognize him.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I recognized Totoro.
Yeah.
But as much as it sucked for them, they did also continue to not do anything about it.
Sure.
They kind of brought it on themselves the way they acted, especially Pino.
Sure.
He really refused to change his mind. But
What
also,
what I love about this film is how complicated that it is.
I was gonna. You can't say one thing without having to acknowledge the other.
Exactly. And honestly, one of my favorite scenes is where we discover pretty quickly that even though Pino is part of his father's family business running this pizzeria in a black neighborhood, that Pino is racist.
Yeah, just straight.
Yeah,
racist.
just
There's nothing else about it.
Yeah. Like he is, and I think a lot of that though is influence from his friends and things like that. He says he gets made fun of for working where they do and all of this kind of stuff. And there's this really cool scene where he is basically telling his father, played by the great Danny Aiello, love him in this film.
I think he did good.
He did a great job as Sal. But he is basically begging him. He's like, why don't we just sell this place? Let's move to, basically he's saying, let's leave these people to themselves. Let's go back with our people. Yeah. And, his father makes the point. He's like, there's a bunch of pizzerias where we live.
Exactly.
There's no pizzerias here. This is why I'm here. This was a business decision. And, he's, talking about the fact that, he gets made fun of and all this kind of stuff. And you really start to see that, his hate is really frustration for where he is. It's really that hatred coming to life.
Yep.
Of, his frustration for his own situation. And, Sal goes on has this speech about, how he loves being part of this community and how he served this community and he's seen kids grow up and stuff like that. And like, it's just this really impassioned speech. And you can tell Pino is not getting, is not getting any of it because he just goes out and starts screaming at people.
Yeah.
And you can see Sal just like break down. He's just like, he's not getting it. He's just not like, and that's kind of, a representation of kind of what is going on in this film. Like I said, it's complicated. It is messy. You are seeing, lots of different, what I love is you are not just seeing one side of the argument. You're seeing all of them.
Yeah.
Which is why it's like, oh, yeah, this is not a simple issue. This is a complicated issue. Now, could some of the problems be solved if people were a little bit more level-headed? Sure.
Yeah.
But being level-headed is not always the easiest thing.
Insanely hard, especially where they're at.
Yes, in the type of situations that they're in. So, it's a difficult conversation. And I think that's really what this movie is about, is that, this is a difficult conversation. This is a difficult topic. It's not going to be solved. And to speak outside of the film for a little bit, in the 90s, there was kind of a narrative going on, mostly within white communities.
Yeah.
Because, people of color knew better. But there was this idea being, put around that we were in a post-racial society, that we were past racism. And this film came out in 89.
Yeah.
Just to kind of, like I said, a little bit before that kind of idea was being, represented. But there very much was this idea that, racism is a problem of the past. We solved that with Martin Luther King and all that kind of stuff. That stuff's over. And like I said, it was happening in white communities full of white people.
Yep.
Maybe one or two black people who, they were able to put their heads in the sand and just pretend that there was no still divide or kind of repression of people of color.
Yeah.
And so a film like this was very important to kind of say, look, this is a very complicated situation. It can't just be ignored.
Exactly.
And to the point where, one of the kind of things around this film. Like I said, this film came out in 89. The film that won the Academy Awards that year
Yeah.
was a film called Driving Miss Daisy, which is not in itself a bad film. But the message of that film is basically about an old Jewish woman who ends up hiring a black driver to kind of drive her around because she is not able to drive herself anymore.
Yeah.
And kind of the message of that film is, well, no, we talk and we have conversations and we barely mention black issues, but everything is solved.
That's dumb.
Yeah. And I mean, like I said, in and of itself, it's not a bad film, but when you have that message and this message at the same time, and one of them wins Best Picture and the other one gets snubbed from nominations.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
I agree. That's not okay at all.
Yeah. Well, you know, and also you compare, like, not just the conversation and the complexity around the issue, which I think is done brilliantly by Lee, but just the direction itself. He makes such interesting choices.
Yeah.
You know, just like there's a scene, actually, the introduction of his character Mookie,
yes,
where it looks like the camera is creeping up on him.
I love how he did that with certain parts.
Yeah.
And the camera was more from a first person type view.
Well, and Spike Lee himself, and I will say, I think that this is kind of like a thing that he does, because I've noticed it in a couple of his films. But he does this scene, or this thing where he will play a scene, and then the scene will then jump to the same scene being shown again, but from a different angle.
He did that earlier when he went to see Tina, I think.
Yes. So because we saw them kiss, and then we see from a different angle them kiss again. It's not them kissing again. It's the same kiss from a different shot.
And I liked that.
Yeah, because what it does is it's like, this is important. Pay attention to this. It's the director speaking to the audience, you know, and I love that direction. But you know, one of the things I'm trying to remember, you know, I've heard critics talk about, you know, interviewing Spike Lee.
Yeah.
And you know, one of the things somebody asked me, they were like, so you're not subtle, are you? And he goes, nope, we don't mess around. He's not I mean, you look at, let's talk about, I don't want to get into every little bit of this because I don't want this recording to go on too long, but obviously we've got all of the neighborhood stuff going around. You've got DeMayer, Ozzie Davis, who I love in this film.
Amazing.
He's great. And then you've got, you know, the kind of the chorus of the neighborhood, the three guys played by, I think it's like Frankie Faison and who are the other two? Let's see if I can find them real fast. Robin Harris as Sweet Dick Willie, and then Paul Benjamin as ML, and then he's Coconut Sid. You know, you've got those guys basically just sitting on the side commenting on everything that's going on. You've got Mother Sister played by Ruby Dee. Yeah, just, you know, and then of course you've got Rosie Perez, who basically has her own dance video at the beginning. That's what the credits are.
I was gonna say
it's like a 5-minute dance video.
They're shooting
of
dance
Rosie
video,
Perez,
which was really interesting.
Which this was also her film debut. Basically, I think actually Spike Lee saw her dancing and was just like, she needs to be in my movie.
Oh.
and that's how she got her big break.
Huh.
I mean, I think she also broke out then after this with White Men Can't Jump. But you like I said, you're getting the flavor of the neighborhood, but there is a big incident which really kicks off at the end of the film, but it's also starts and starts kind of moving along through the whole thing. You've got Giancarlo Esposito's character bugging out, who is upset about, he goes into the pizzeria, and he's upset that, Sal's got a wall of fame and it's all white Italians. And, he is upset that, we're in a black community. You got no black people on your wall. And here's the thing is I can see both sides.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's like you want to agree with Bugged Out, but you also want to tell him to chill out. And it's like,
right. It's
dang
like,
it, you can't say anything.
Because here's the thing. Bugging Out has a point. They're in a black community.
He does have a point.
Why isn't there any black, representation? But at the same time, Sal's got a point. It's his restaurant.
Yeah.
He has the right to put, up any, and he doesn't say, I don't like black people. What he says is, he's an Italian American. He wants to represent Italian Americans. And here's the thing that makes this also complex. Up until, I would say, mid 20th century, Italians were also highly discriminated against. When you said white people, you weren't talking about Italians. It was really only towards the end of the 20th century that Italians kind of became synonymous with white people. Up until that time, Italians were basically in the same breath as, people of color.
Yeah.
So, there is and obviously Sal is from a generation that can probably still remember that. So he feels like he needs to have some representation as well. And so, like I said, they both have a point, but at the same time, there's a reason that, Spike Lee named the character Bugging Out.
Yeah.
Because he's bugging out a little bit.
The whole time.
He is taking this situation a little bit too seriously. This is a conversation that could have been had. It makes it seem like this is the first time that this has been brought up. And, it feels like this would be it's not like he's fighting for, food for his family or anything like that. This is representation. We can talk about this.
Yeah.
This is a thing that we can talk about. And he, takes it a little too far, a little too fast. And, to the point where he is looking for other people in the community to join him in a boycott of Sal's for this issue. And, so, which is part of what kind of kicks off the whole situation that happens at the end. Then, of course, you've got the character of Radio Raheem. Again, his name is Radio Raheem. His whole character is about this radio. Now, obviously, with him, that's definitely more of a nickname.
Yeah.
But there's a reason that, like I said, that Spike Lee names these characters. He's telegraphing what he's doing here.
He's projecting.
His whole thing is going to be about this radio. Bugging out, he's going to bug out. If there's going to be a problem, it's probably going to start with him. And so then you get the situation at the end with, everything that ends up happening. And, obviously those two are taking this situation a little bit too seriously, but then the way that Sal reacts you could also argue wasn't the best decision.
Yeah.
And then it escalates when the cops get called, and one of them ends up killing
Well,
Radio
I was gonna say that part was just brutal, like for the movie, but also grossly accurate, because
Absolutely.
you see when they do it,
Well-
it's painted as him
well-
pushing away from them. They cut to the part his feet aren't even on the ground.
Well, and as it's happening, people around the cop are saying, "You're gonna kill him. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop." And he's like, "No, no, no." He is like, "I am not going to stop." But you're right. It looks like he's struggling, but we can see his feet are off.
Exactly.
So obviously, again, there's this adrenaline. There's things going on, but you kill someone.
Mm-hmm.
That's not okay.
And then trying to ignore the fact that you killed him, and they're like, "Get him out of here!" Like, where are you gonna go
Right.
put him? Dump him by the morgue?
Yeah. It's a tense situation, and then of course, the neighborhood reacts,
Yep.
and they trash Sal's restaurant. And something I heard about an interview that or maybe just a question that Spike Lee answered. He said that people are always asking him, did Mookie do the right thing? Because Mookie actually instigates
Yeah.
the assault on Sal's. All he does actually is start it. He doesn't really take part
I
in
was gonna
any
say,
other
he just starts it.
part of it.
And again, that's another thing. He had a good reason for starting it, but again, it's so.
But was it the
complex.
right way to handle it? But who's to say what was the right
I
way
was gonna say.
in that situation? But he's like, and I always ask back, nobody ever asks, did Sal do the right thing?
Yeah.
Did the cops do the right thing? Why are we putting all this on Mookie? And that is the thing. And a lot of people come away asking, was it right for the restaurant to get burned down? And it's like, if you're more concerned about the fact that the restaurant burned down than the fact that a man was killed, that might tell you about something. Like I said, that's why I love this movie, because it is so complex. It's a conversation.
Yeah.
Which is what it is and what it should be.
Mhm.
It's not an easy fix. It's not something that's going to be solved by one good conversation and, oh, yes, thank you, ma'am. It is an ongoing thing that we're going to need to keep working on. It's just like any relationship,
Yeah.
But yeah, I love this movie. I really do. Is there anything else specifically that you would like to talk about?
No, I think I got everything out that I had on my mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got the opportunity to obviously watch this movie.
Yeah, this
and
is
then
amazing.
Have a conversation about it. And I'm also extremely happy that we were able to find this on streaming, because every other time I've gone to watch it, I've had to, find a DVD copy or something like that.
Yeah.
Because it's very rare, very often not on streaming. And I think it needs to be more readily available.
Yeah.
It needs to be something that we are talking about, especially with things going on right now.
Yes.
Things are not black and white. But yeah, so want to go ahead and let people know how they can get into contact with us. So make sure that you check us out on all of our socials at The Flying Cow Pod. You can also email at theflyingcowpod@gmail.com and check out everything that we have going on. Remember, we've got our regular feed is still going to be coming up. This weekend, we will be reviewing the film Moonlight.
Yes.
Which actually
I love that that's our next film because, you know, it kind of incorporates, you know, Black representation while at the same time, you know, it is a queer film.
Yes.
So it works right into our Pride theme. But yeah, so make sure to check that out. But until that time, Moo.